The moment everyone thought the storm had settled, Karoline Leavitt did the impossible. She turned it into a full-blown hurricane. And this time, it wasn't just about her. The first lawsuit was a shockwave, shaking up The View and exposing the chaos behind the cameras. Backstage fights, media manipulation, and desperate damage control, the scandal had taken on a life of its own. But what no one saw coming was Karoline's next move. Breaking news! Karoline Leavitt has just filed a second lawsuit against The View. And this time, the stakes couldn't be higher. Whoopi Goldberg, Behar, and the rest of the panel thought they had dodged the worst of it. They believed their PR machine had worked its magic, that the outrage would fade away, that people would move on. But they were dead wrong. Because Karoline didn't just come back, she came back with something that could burn everything to the ground. For years, she had watched the media twist narratives, silence dissent, and destroy reputations. But this wasn't just about defending herself anymore. It was about exposing the system. What most people don't know is that Karoline has history with The View, a personal history that cuts much deeper than just being a conservative commentator on their show. Years ago, someone very close to her, a journalist, a whistleblower, was pulled into The View's web of deceit. They had trusted the system, spoken the truth, and for that, they were torn apart on national television. Their name dragged through the mud, their career dismantled before their very eyes. And Karoline had watched it happen, powerless to stop it. But now she had the power to fight back. This lawsuit isn't just about money, it's about accountability, the kind that The View has never faced before. So what is Karoline accusing them of this time? And how are the hosts reacting behind the scenes? Could this be the moment that finally destroys the show for good? Because what she just uncovered is more than just slander, more than just biased reporting. This goes deeper. Her legal team has dropped bombshell evidence that could expose the darkest secrets of mainstream media. According to inside sources, Karoline's lawsuit alleges that The View wasn't just guilty of defamation. They were engaging in workplace harassment, and, most shocking of all, a calculated campaign of media manipulation. The accusation? That ABC, the network behind The View, has been secretly using artificial intelligence-driven censorship to control the public narrative. Emails, confidential reports, whistleblower testimonies. The evidence is explosive. What Karoline's legal team uncovered is nothing short of a modern-day media conspiracy. Internal documents reportedly prove that ABC executives were using AI-powered tools to control online conversations. The accusations go beyond just reputation smearing. This was a deliberate, coordinated effort to silence voices like Karoline's. The evidence allegedly reveals that ABC was using advanced AI-driven moderation tools to suppress negative content about The View on social media, ensuring criticism was buried before it could go viral, amplify positive coverage using engagement manipulation, artificially inflating praise for the show while tanking anything critical, blacklist conservative commentators from major platforms, flagging their content as problematic to keep them from reaching wider audiences. And it doesn't stop there. Karoline's lawsuit goes even further, alleging that The View's influence isn't just limited to television, it stretches deep into the tech world. Internal leaks suggest ABC partnered with third-party firms to manipulate media trends, ensuring that their version of events was the only one people saw. This lawsuit isn't just dangerous for The View, it's a direct threat to the entire mainstream media machine. If Karoline wins, ABC could be forced to pay out millions in damages. But that's not even the real disaster, because if this case moves forward, it could expose just how much control the media truly has over what the public sees. ABC executives are in full-blown crisis mode. Their strategy? Silence, deny, destroy. They never thought this would go this far. They never thought someone like Karoline Leavitt would have the resources to fight them in court. But now, she's not just fighting them, she's winning. Behind the scenes at The View, panic is setting in. The hosts had no idea this was coming. Whoopi Goldberg, the show's most powerful voice, was the first to get the call. An ABC executive frantically reached out minutes before she was set to go on air. Witnesses say she froze in disbelief before storming off to her dressing room, slamming the door so hard the entire hallway went silent. Joy Behar, on the other hand, complete denial. At first she laughed it off. "Oh, please," she reportedly scoffed, waving it away as just another desperate stunt. But then, she opened her phone, trending #1 worldwide. The View exposed. The leaked documents were already spreading like wildfire. And just like that, her smug confidence turned into sheer panic. Producers rushed into an emergency meeting, desperate to figure out how to contain the firestorm before it could spiral further out of control. But before they could come up with a plan, something far worse happened. Because as the lawsuit exploded across headlines, an anonymous hacker appeared online. And what they leaked next? It shook ABC to its core. The hacker, known only as Ghost Signal, posted a cryptic message. They silenced guests. They rigged narratives. They thought no one would notice. Guess what? We did. Within minutes, a leaked behind-the-scenes audio recording from an internal ABC meeting surfaced. And what it revealed? It was worse than anyone imagined. The recording allegedly captured ABC executives discussing how they manipulated coverage to protect The View. They talked about silencing critics, suppressing scandals, and using AI-driven strategies to maintain control over the narrative. And then, the real nightmare hit. Because within moments of the hackers' leaks going public, ABC executives received an email from an unknown sender. The subject line? "TikTok, it's all coming out." Attached was a screenshot of internal emails between ABC executives. Emails that reportedly prove that they weren't just aware of the manipulation, they orchestrated it. This wasn't just about silencing Karoline Leavitt. The emails hinted at a network-wide effort to suppress multiple scandals, from internal harassment allegations to blacklisting outspoken guests. ABC had no idea what to do next. They thought Karoline was just another conservative commentator who would eventually fade away. But now, she wasn't just taking on The View, she was exposing the entire corrupt media machine. And for the first time in its history, ABC was completely powerless to stop her. The walls were closing in. And the scariest part? This was only the beginning. Inside The View's studio, chaos erupted. The producers were scrambling, the legal team was panicking, and the hosts? They were completely blindsided. Whoopi Goldberg, normally the show's dominant voice, was in meltdown mode. Sources say she locked herself in her dressing room for nearly an hour, frantically making calls to ABC's top executives. She wanted answers. How did this happen? How did Karoline outplay them again? Joy Behar was no better. At first, she tried to laugh it off on set, making sarcastic remarks, but her face told another story. The moment the cameras stopped rolling, she rushed off stage, phone in hand, her fingers shaking as she scrolled through social media. What she saw? It shattered her confidence instantly. The leaked emails, the AI-driven censorship scandal, the behind-the-scenes recordings, it was all out there. The audience wasn't buying their defense anymore. And then came the worst news yet. ABC was bleeding sponsors. One of The View's largest corporate backers, a multi-million-dollar advertiser, made a brutal phone call to ABC headquarters. Their message? "We're pulling our ads, effective immediately." That was only the beginning. More sponsors quietly distanced themselves from the show, some pausing contracts, others walking away completely. ABC executives were now in full damage control mode. The whispers inside the network grew louder. Executives were now seriously questioning whether Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar had finally gone too far. Have they become a liability? One insider reportedly asked. But the biggest betrayal was yet to come. Rumors began circulating that one of The View's own hosts, Alyssa Farah Griffin, had been secretly in contact with Karoline's legal team for months. When Whoopi found out, she lost it. Storming into a meeting with producers, she reportedly slammed the table and demanded, "Are you kidding me? One of our own is working against us?" This wasn't just a PR disaster anymore. It was an all-out war. ABC's top executives were now forced to make a choice. Whoopi and Joy believed they were untouchable. But as the backlash exploded and the evidence stacked up, one question loomed over the entire network. Was it time to cut them loose? The decision would change everything. And behind the scenes, Karoline Leavitt was just getting started. Inside ABC headquarters, panic had turned to full-blown desperation. Executives were no longer asking if they needed to act. They were debating how fast they could do it. The numbers were disastrous. Ratings were in free fall. Sponsors were dropping like flies. And the leaked documents? They weren't stopping. Then came the breaking point. A high-ranking ABC executive's internal email, one that had been kept hidden for years, surfaced online. And what it revealed? It shattered any remaining hope that The View could survive this. The leaked email confirmed that ABC executives had long been aware of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar's behavior, but did nothing. Even worse, the email contained evidence that ABC had actively protected them, covering up multiple workplace misconduct complaints from former staffers and guests who had been silenced. The internet erupted. Viewers who had stood by The View for decades were now turning against it. We defended this show for years, only to find out they were doing exactly what they accused others of. The hypocrisy is unreal. They spent years canceling others. Now it's finally happening to them. The public's patience was gone. And that's when ABC made the decision that no one saw coming. They pulled Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar off the air, indefinitely. ABC's official statement was sterile but brutal. Due to the ongoing controversy, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar will be stepping away from The View while we reassess the show's future direction. The fallout? Catastrophic. Whoopi went ballistic. According to insiders, she stormed out of a meeting with executives, screaming, "You think you can do this to me?" Joy, meanwhile, was in shock. She had spent years building her image as The View's fearless liberal firebrand, only to be tossed aside the moment she became a liability. And then, the final betrayal. Alyssa Farah Griffin, the co-host they had ridiculed and belittled for being a conservative, went on air and addressed the controversy alone. I've disagreed with Karoline Leavitt politically, but this isn't about politics anymore. It's about accountability. And the truth is, The View has spent years silencing voices that didn't fit their narrative. It's time we acknowledge that. ABC executives were stunned because in that moment, Alyssa had just flipped the entire show on its head. Now, instead of being the one under attack, Karoline Leavitt was being validated on live television. And then, Karoline herself made her final move. In a public press conference, standing in front of a wall of legal documents, she held up a folder. "This is everything," she said. "The documents ABC is trying to hide. The contracts, the cover-ups, the deals they made with tech companies to censor the truth. And I have one demand: release them to the public, or I will do it myself." Silence. ABC had no response, because for the first time in its history, they had lost control of the narrative. Then, just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a final, devastating leak surfaced. It was another recording, allegedly taken from inside an ABC executive meeting. And in it, A voice, reportedly belonging to a senior network official, could be heard saying, "If we let these documents get out, it's not just The View that goes down, it's ABC, it's all of us. We buried stories, we protected people we shouldn't have. If this gets out, we're finished." And just like that, the entire media industry was now implicated, because this wasn't just about The View anymore. This was about the entire system, the same system that had spent years shaping public opinion, controlling narratives, and deciding who gets to speak and who gets silenced. And Karoline had just ripped it wide open. In one final shocking twist, a massive nonprofit legal group announced that they were filing additional lawsuits against ABC, mainstream media outlets, and major tech platforms. The battle had grown beyond just Karoline. This was now a full-scale war, a reckoning for an industry that had never thought it could be challenged. And as for The View, the once iconic talk show that had spent decades dominating daytime TV, its fate was now uncertain. ABC was hemorrhaging money. Advertisers were gone. The lawsuits were piling up, and the internet had turned against them. For the first time ever, The View wasn't just in trouble. It was on the verge of total collapse. And the worst part? They never saw it coming. The empire they built on controlling the narrative was now being destroyed by the very people they tried to silence. And at the center of it all? Karoline Leavitt, the woman they dismissed, the woman they tried to erase, the woman who just might bring down The View for good.